When life is dull, when life is predictable, we turn to the unknown. We turn to something awful. Today, we tell the tale of forbidding knowledge. Knowledge perhaps worth dying for. The Book of Soyga, also known as the Aldareya, is a book of magic, known to be owned by the John D. It's gonna be a tough time trying to. John Dee was known as a mathematician, an astronomer, astrologer, alchemist, and even an occultist. Pay your taxes. He was most notorious for being the advisor of Elizabeth I, Queen Elizabeth I. At the time, he had one of the largest libraries in England. He advocated for the founding of the first English colonies in the New World. It serves to broaden his knowledge of the occult and supernatural realm. He left England and traveled all around Europe. When he returned, he found much of his property, including his massive library, vandalized, which he was known to have one of the greatest and largest libraries at the time, which was a pretty big deal, especially when printing presses weren't necessarily a thing back in the early 17th century. So I'm wrong, sorry. So apparently printing presses were first created by Chinese monks 600 years before Gutenberg. Johannes Gutenberg created the printing press as well at 1444 AD after Dalord. Fact checking myself before someone online gives me shit about it. He tried to enter the court to service Elizabeth I, but was turned down and placed for James I. The man was married twice by Catherine Constable and once more by Jane Froment, or also dubbed as, Jane Jane. He died in poverty but ultimately was respected in all his fields, whether it was in science or sorcery, which is also known as modern science. After the death of John Dee, the book was thought to be lost until the year 1994. Sloane MS-8 found in 1692, and the Bodleian Library in Bodley MS-908 donated in 1605, found by Deborah Harkness under the title Aldareya. Before being found in both libraries, the book had two recorded owners, one of Elias Ashmole, and the other being the Duke of Lauderdale. Since the two books aren't so different, I will mostly be speaking of the Bodley 908 MS version, which, if I'm being quite honest, I'm not necessarily too sure what that means. I'm assuming the MS or something, and the number is representative of where in the section of the library it is being held at. I think. I'm not librarian, sorry. Both books are pretty identical aside from the tables of letters that appear in 36 pages, and the Liber Regiorum is presented in a 2-page summarized version rather than a 65-page. The book is covered in 40,000 randomly distributed letters. It is said that John Dee's colleague Edward Kelly offered Dee to interview the Archangel Uriel. This was on the 10th day of March of 1582. Kelly had his hands on the proclaimed magic mirror, which they were able to speak to the Archangel using Kelly as a vessel. So essentially what they did, it's like, here, magic mirror, where he would talk into the into the mirror, and the angel would speak through him, kind of like that was stupid. Anyways,
I was like, hey, what's up, guys? My name's Kelly.
And then the angel was like, yo, hey man, so this fucking mirror. Anyways, let's move on forward. This is a story to tell, not a story to believe. The conversation goes something like this. John Dee would say, "Is my Book of Soyga of any excellency?" And Uriel replied, "Liber il erat Adam ins paradiso, reulanta reul angelos Dei bono." In Latin, Uriel revealed to Dee that the pages were special, and they were revealed to Adam, as in the first human being to God create, while he was on his stay at the Garden of Eden. Dee asks the angel how he can be able to interpret the tables, which are the last 36 pages with all the random letters on it. Each page shows a big square with 36 rows and 36 columns of Latin characters, a total of 46,656 characters. In response of these questions, Uriel responded, Solus Michael Ilios Libri e Interpretor, meaning that only Archangel Michael himself was the only one to know of the secrets of the book. It was said the secrets would bring death to those who knew in 2 years and a half. In 2006, a man by the name of James A. Reeds, also dubbed as Jim. I'm getting off script here. Whenever I was researching this, sometimes they'll say James and sometimes they'll say Jim. And technically Jim is a nickname to the name James. But it's like there's never consistency. Sometimes they'll be like, alright, James A. Reeds. And then out of nowhere, they'll just throw you a curveball and be like, yeah, that's Jimmy for you. Wait, who the fuck is Jimmy? In 2006, a man by the name of James A. Reeds decided to take up the challenge with his team of other crypto-analysts. Prior to this, he dedicated himself to deciphering the Voynich manuscripts. Prior to this, he dedicated his time to deciphering the Voynich manuscript. I don't know how to fucking say this stuff. Jesus. Using the 36 by 36 table and its wheel of values, you can solve the missing letters. You start with the letter above, and the letter on the value of the left will tell us how many clockwise steps to take. In this case, it would take us 2 steps to get to the next letter, which is the letter N. In order to calculate the top row letter, you could simply apply both rules and values to the same letter. It's better for me to show it to you rather than explain it. So in this case, the letter B will move us 2 clockwork steps and land us on the letter D. Implementing these rules and applying this modern technology, we are now able to create an electronic version of the book. You can also access it here, and I'll put a link to the description below. The first 24 tables of the book are named after the constellations of the zodiacs, 2 tables of each sign followed by 7 tables named after the planets, the 4 natural elements, and the figure of Magistrae. The entire content of each page is determined by the magic words listed here in the right side. As you can see, there's a total of 36 pages, and as well there's 36 names to the whole thing. Now, we have to ask the question whether or not this is legit or if this is bullshit. So if I'm being quite frank, I didn't really find a lot of information on our old boy Jimmy over here. But what I could find is that essentially Jimmy, after 2 years and a half, no, he did not die. Thing is, Jimmy didn't necessarily decipher the book, you know, classical method of just going through the whole book and just like figuring it out like on paper or anything. He used technology like AI, which, you know, in 2004 I don't know exactly what the limitations or what. Do your research, stupid motherfucker. All I could find was some information on Goodreads that mentioned him and some of the works and books that he was included in. As far as I've read, our boy Jimmy, he is not dead, or at least I don't know if he died later on, because you don't get to see anything. The only information that I get to see anything about a James A. Reeds was of a James A. Reed without the S at the name Reed, and it turns out it's just some dude from Ohio that just was racist or something like that, and that's not our boy Jimmy, at least I hope not. The mysteries of the books are still intact, but at least through modern advancements and human curiosity, we're able to now explore that book on our own time here at home electronically. Just be careful though, because you never know what you might conjure.